Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Movie Night Podcast. A little bit different this week. Mike has an explanation for you. Being the producer of the show, that therefore he's responsible for everything that we do with the show. So this is all his fault, really. But yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Wes ate our camera, which is why he's not here, and which is why we don't have a camera. So if you really think about it, it's not my fault. Wes just ate the camera, and like there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah, well, whose job was it to feed Wes? That's on you.
His parents. The fuck? What am I? Just because Wes is 85 doesn't mean he needs assisted living, bro. He could feed himself.
He did tell me today he pulled it. He said he was laying in bed and his hip started hurting.
It's early onset, bro.
It's about that time in his life where
get it ready.
Yeah, it's about that time in his life when things just don't start, stop working like they used to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he just forgets stuff all of a sudden. Like he can't remember to text us the day before. I'm sorry. Hey, bro, my bad.
So this is going to be an audio only episode today. For the most part, I mean, there wasn't a video last week because the video last week was really bad, and also very short. And we didn't want to post that. And then all ready to go. And, then Wes apparently got hungry and decided to eat all of our equipment. So now we have to go buy new equipment. So this is what we're working with.
We got the COVID setup right now, which is jank as hell. But I could not skip the topic of the conversation for this episode. So by pure willpower, we must get this episode out because I cannot not talk about what we're talking about today.
You know what, though, dude, get a little bit of nostalgia from this because this is all we used to do, when we were first trying to start all this stuff out and figure it all out. Started, doing podcasts and things like that. Like this was me and Mike used to have this old podcast that I really listened to a couple months ago. But it was when we were in high school. It sounded terrible, but like there were some funny bits in there.
No, I mean, and now we've, since we've upgraded all of our equipment before Wes ate it all, obviously, we've upgraded all of our equipment to
right.
produce better results. But I guess, sometimes you just gotta go back to old reliable and just get shit done. I do also want to mention, Jacoby, that you have continually told me to stay behind the camera. And technically, this is doing that. Okay. I'm on an episode, but I'm not on camera. So very technically speaking, this was a way for me to find a loophole to get back into an episode.
It is just, it's only for your safety, really, because after the vile shit you were saying about the Pixar films last week, I'm fairly certain that people are going to, dox you and find out where you live and, just kill your whole family and stuff like that. So it's really for your own protection at this point.
I mean, I'm saying if Selena Gomez want to dox me, like that would be terrible. I would. No, please, Sydney Sweeney, don't know where I live. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, come
on. Anyway, with all that being said, though, today, folks, we are going to be talking about Despicable Me because Despicable Me 4 recently came out in theaters. Mike just saw it on Thursday. Happy 4th of July, by the way. And what more American how much more American can we get? Talking about our old reliable Despicable Me.
And I do want to mention too, really quick. You mentioned the 4th of July. As a 21-year-old man, American citizen, whatever you want to call me, I think the most patriotic thing I could have done was go up to my girlfriend and ask her to see Despicable Me 4 on the night of 4th of July. Like literally, it was one of the most unique experiences of my life because we're sitting in the theater and there's just fireworks just bombarding the whole place. Like it sounds like we're getting bombed on it, but it's really like I'm so dialed in. And the whole time my girlfriend's like, "Oh, they're doing fireworks, blah 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 blah," and I'm fucking locked in. Like I do not care about independence. I don't care about freedom. I care about this. This is my focus right now. So I think that it's truly a 4th of July like no other. And I love this. I love Despicable Me. I love the Gru, universe, the GCU, if you will. But I think personally that, but I love Despicable Me. I love Gru. And again, I'm a 21-year-old man talking about Minions on a Zoom call.
Also, it's worth mentioning that me and my mom went at like 9:00. We went out to go look at the fireworks, and watch them in, the town that we grew up in. And, where I was watching the fireworks, I was actually across the street from the theater where you were watching Despicable Me. And I just thought it was funny to remind my mom that you, the 21-year-old male with a female, like with a girlfriend, is sitting in a movie theater during the 4th of July watching Despicable Me 4.
Made for children, yes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
No, it was quite a unique experience. It's funny you mentioned that because there was lines and lines of people outside the theater and outside the streets connecting the theater, and I didn't see you or your mom because I would have pulled over 100%. But I did see a lot of people. But anyways, let's get to the movie because I think few things in life have disappointed me more than Despicable Me 4. Again, we're talking about a movie that I gave up my National Independence Day to go see with my girlfriend, dragged her to go see it, and it was disappointing. It was really disappointing. This movie, Jacoby, if I could describe Despicable Me in like 3 words, it doesn't have the sauce. And I know that's 4 words, but that's how upset I am, right?
Yeah.
I can't like count correctly.
You did text me that after you got out of the film. You did text me that and tell me it didn't have the sauce. It lacked sauce, this one.
And one thing I'll say is not every Despicable Me movie, or the GCU, if you will, has been good, but they've all kind of had that sauce. They've kind of all had that little thing. It is hard to quantify a sauce, but you know it when you know it, and you know when it's not there. This movie kind of lacked it. I think the reason, if I could best quantify why it lacked this particular sauce, is very forgettable villain. Like, bro, he looked like 2017 Cody Co. Like Maxime was just not up to the par of the standard. He was not up to the par of the standard of the villains, right? And it was, I had that thought, particularly because the last scene in the movie, it's like the end like musical number that Gru is, he's an icon, whatever. The last scene is in a jail. He's doing a musical in the jail cell where they put the villain at, and you see all the other villains from the Despicable Me universe. You see like fucking Bulbasaur Brat, and you see the Nacho Libre big ass Mexican guy, and you see Vector and all them, right? And then I'm thinking, I'm like, dude, these guys are all so much cooler. These guys are all so much cooler than Maxime. And Maxime, which I didn't even realize until after the movie, is voiced by Will Ferrell. And like, how could you have a Will Ferrell villain?
Oh,
and it's bad because he does this like accent.
Wow.
And I understand that the part of the joke is like the accents are bad on purpose. Like it's kind of funny. Like Gru is just like terrible, but it's good. He did not do it well. Sofia Vergara is the girlfriend's villain. She was just bland, boring, like blech, did not like her at all. They effectively like kick him out of the movie for like the whole middle chunk so that Gru could go do a side mission. He out here doing side quests in an hour and a half movie, right? And then the final battle, which they build stuff up and they lead up to it and they have these little plot points going on, and it just fell flat. Like it really just kind of like didn't, it's like a wet pool noodle. Like it didn't do much for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I didn't think the performances were especially great. Again, Will Ferrell, very disappointed, did not have a great performance. I didn't think. I thought, some of the plot,
which is crazy because he just had a cameo in The Boys.
That's hilarious. No, I don't know. His villain was just not memorable. The whole plot of the villain is him and Gru grew up together and they went to school together, and he has a grudge against Gru. And I shit you not, Jacoby, because in the 9th grade talent show, Gru stole his song and won the talent show because he sang his song. And then so he just hates Gru from there on out. And then Gru arrests him in the beginning of the movie because he's with the anti-villain league. And all of a sudden, Ramsbottom comes out of retirement. They never explain why Ramsbottom comes out of retirement. And then, so Maxime's in jail. They send Gru and Lucy and all the girls to a safe house in like this white suburb place. And then the whole time, Maxime's like, bro, I'm coming for your ass, right? Pause. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me rewind on that. He's like, hey, Gru, I'm going to get you, right? That's probably a better way to say that. So he breaks out of jail, and the whole movie, they're in like witness protection, basically. Well, then at the end of the movie, Gru puts him back in jail. So how did that solve the fucking problem? He escaped it for, you know what I'm saying? Like the movie just not making sense. And then again, he was a cockroach. And one of the big moments of the movie was he turned Gru's son into a cockroach. And you're like, oh shit, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. And then like later, like obviously they win the battle, and then there's a cut scene later in the movie where Dr. Nefario just takes his son out of like this tube and he's a human again. Like they spent no time on that. Like that was, I don't know, they kind of like dropped the ball with a lot of these big plot points that they had going. And again, I understand this is a movie for 7-year-olds. Okay. I understand. I don't want to seem like I'm a 21-year-old talking about a movie for 7-year-olds and complaining. But at the same time, these other movies have had the sauce. They've had good shit going on. They've had consistent plot points. They've had cool shit going, whatever. I didn't get it with this one. And it makes me feel like it was a cash grab. And it makes me feel like I wasted my 4th of July. So it doesn't make me very happy, Jacoby. Okay. Like it's making me quite upset right now. And I think I'm actually,
I mean, so that is the thing though about a lot of these, and that I don't know. I felt 3 was not the best. I didn't like 3 that much. And that was the last, just like the last in the timeline of Despicable Me. I didn't watch Minions Rise of Gru, but you love that one. I'll need to watch it at some point, but but yeah, like, and listen, the argument that people make that, oh, these are kids movies, that's such a bullshit excuse, because there are kids movies that are some of the best movies out there. Just because it's targeted toward a younger demographic doesn't mean that you can't make a good movie. And unfortunately, I think that, I mean, you guys have heard me talk about this before, but I think that like that is a big problem that we're having right now in Hollywood, is just the fact that there are too many cash grabs. There's too many movies that are just there to make money. And then when they don't, I don't know, it doesn't make it better. And they just keep coming out with all this just shit. It's not good. They rush through everything. I'm not going to lie. Steve Carell does not sound as good as he used to as Gru. It sounds like he's not putting in as much of a performance. He's just going into the booth.
That is not a crazy take at all.
I mean, you can tell from the trailers, and it just doesn't sound. It doesn't sound like Gru. It just sounds like, okay, you know what a perfect example of this is? It sounds like when these big budget movies end up getting like a kids series and they can't get the original actor back, so they bring some other guy that doesn't sound anything like the original actor. It's just the actor doing an impression of the original, and it doesn't sound good. That's what he sounds like in this movie to me.
Megamind, LOL.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like that's mainly targeted toward Megamind, but like I don't know. There's a couple other examples of what I'm thinking about, or you know what I mean. Though that's just how it sounded me off rip, and I couldn't find myself being excited nor intrigued by this film at all. And which really sucks. And then because it's the same like in what is it, Illumination? Illumination has made great movies. Secret Life of Pets, the first one, but then like Secret Life of Pets 2 falls short and it sucks. And that movie, probably most people didn't even know that there is a Secret Life of Pets 2. That movie bombed. And then I don't know, like we're getting a Hat film from Illumination because for some reason Illumination has like a big thing with Dr. Seuss stuff. Like they've been making Dr. Seuss films for a while because they did The Grinch too. Yeah, the new one with Benedict Cumberbatch, and that one was great too. And it's just, I don't know, I feel they're being lackluster, being pushed by a studio or something, by a higher up that says we need to have a movie out by this date, and they're just rushing to get it out, and it's just not. It's not good. It's not living up to their name, I think.
And they have the capacity to make good movies, but I think when you look at the numbers, you understand why they've fallen off, because they are clearly aiming more for box office. Let me tell you something right now, Jacoby. The first Despicable Me made $544 million at the box office. That's good. It's nothing crazy. Let me tell you the other numbers. Despicable Me 2, $975 million. Minions, $1.1 billion. Despicable Me 3, $1 billion.
Whoa.
Minions Rise of Gru, $940 million. These movies are churning out fucking dough. And so why would, or I guess what's the motivation to make good movies when they know they have the fucking golden goose cheat sheet money printer that is the Despicable Me universe? They pop one of these out every couple of years. And again, Minions Rise of Gru I actually liked. So maybe I'm being a little harsh, But Despicable Me was the first time I think I really thought, wow, these movies are kind of cash grabby. Despicable Me 3, I agree with you, wasn't great. Despicable Me 4 was the first one where I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Like, again, and then you look at the numbers and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I see why. A billion, almost a billion, almost a billion. Like why would they? You know what I'm saying? What's the point to
And it's like they get into the mindset of, well, these movies make money, so we can just make anything and they'll like it. And that's not, I don't know, that shouldn't be the takeaway. That shouldn't be what the mindset you have going into a film like that. It's just, I don't know. It's very lackluster. It sucks, and it just ruins a lot of, it happens to every franchise. You see it all the time. Every single franchise has their black sheep of the family, the one that everyone hates. And studios need to be more aware now, because Hollywood is becoming more well, first of all, me and Wes, I saw Wes this morning and we were talking about this, but Hollywood is moving out of Hollywood, like LA and California and things like that. Like there's more, I don't know, the whole industry is changing now. And after the strike and everything, and I feel like there is a lot more emphasis on the creative of filmmaking now. And I think that a lot of people need to, especially these higher ups and things like that. It doesn't matter if it's a movie for kids. It doesn't matter if it's a movie for young adults. It doesn't matter if it's a rated R film. Filmmaking is filmmaking. If we're going to make a movie and make it good. Don't just throw together a fucking movie just because the title alone and the IP alone is going to make money. That's not how that works. And that's really lazy. And I think that is, it tarnishes Illumination's name a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and like you said, like they have the capacity to make really good. I don't doubt that Illumination, if Martians invaded Earth, death beam pointed, they say, Illumination, you got to make a good movie or else we blow up the Earth. They could make a fucking banger movie. 100%. I have no doubt about that. It's more so calling into question their priorities. Is their priority to make a $1 billion Minions movie that is forgettable? That's what it seems like. Or is their priority to make banger ass movies? And again, I think they just fallen into
now. I could see. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I could see, again, the delay. It's just rough to work with. But I could see that if they were already knee deep in working on Cat in the Hat, and they're getting ready to work on that, and then some higher up comes up and says, "Hey, we need you to make another Despicable Me movie now because marketing says that Despicable Me 4 is going to pop off right now, and we don't have time to have you guys sit here and work for, a solid 5 years on Cat in the Hat. We need you to make a movie now." And all of a sudden now they have to scrounge up and round together everybody and get everybody back together and do the whole thing again out of nowhere. And now it's, that could be a possibility because that it's happened before. We've seen it time and time again, like I said, with a lot of franchises. But I have no doubt that could be very well could be the reason why. And Cat in the Hat might be a really good movie from Illumination and, might make a lot of money. I know The Grinch wasn't amazing, but it was also released around, it didn't do amazing. It's a great movie. But I know it was also released in like pandemic era. So,
Yeah. Again, I hope that that's the case. I don't want to blast the creatives. I don't want to blast the artists because I think one thing I can say, I don't like the story. I don't like the acting. The animation is really fucking solid. So credit to the artists. They did a great job. It's not easy to animate that. And the Minions are obviously so expressive and they're so rambunctious and so, animated just in their, I guess, mannerisms that it is not an easy task to do that, even if it's just an hour and a half movie. So I want to say great job. But to be more positive, I do now want to transition into ranking these movies because these are movies that we grew up on as kids. The first one came out when I was 8 years old. So we've grown up on these movies. Like I've seen all of them. I know. Yeah, I know. Right. You were 7, big dog. You were 7. That's fucking wild.
Yeah, dude. Holy shit.
But I do want to rank them. Again, I know you haven't seen the last 2, so we'll take your rankings with a grain of salt. Or not a grain of salt, but just they're incomplete as of right now. I'll go ahead and hit you with mine. And again, I want to hear your opinions. Number one, I think it's indisputable. The first one is the best. Despicable Me 2010. It would just set the precedent, set the banger.
Yeah.
Steve Carell is great. Vector's a great villain. The world of Despicable Me was outlined really well. Good voice acting from Kristen Wiig and Russell
And
Crowe.
listen, and also too, you can't talk about Despicable Me being great movies without talking about Pharrell's insane and amazing soundtrack that he does for all of these movies.
Jacoby, you literally just fucking brought back a point. One more thing I'm going to say about Despicable Me 4. I know you heard the rumor song. It's fucking banger. Banger. The movie okay. I know I said the movie doesn't have sauce, and 99% of it doesn't. The opening scene to the movie is Gru drag racing his car on like a mountain, playing that Pharrell song in the background. That shit got me hyped. I was really into it for the first like 3 minutes. It fell off the fucking face of the earth after that. But that Pharrell song really got shit going in the right direction, and he does great work on all these.
Also, speaking of that, Pharrell is also going to be getting his own film here soon. He's getting a biopic, and he's doing it with Lego animation, dude. Have you seen that? Yeah, that's insane, and it looks really good. And I'm really, but anyway, side tangent over. But I just wanted to put that out there that, like, I mean, songs like "Happy," that was in Despicable Me 2. Pharrell does insane work for these movies, and I think he also produces and does a lot of the music for not just this, but for the other projects that they do as well. Like, I know Tyler the Creator got brought in for The Grinch. Like, Tyler the Creator got brought in for that film, and he did a whole soundtrack for that, and it's fucking awesome. Like, it's just, I love him. I love him. Anyways, no, I'm sorry. Right. Continue with your ranking.
John Williams walked so Pharrell Williams could run, is what I'm hearing. Anyways, so Despicable Me 1 is the best. I think that's pretty undisputable. I would then have, this is a hot take, I know. I would then have Rise of Gru number 2. I fucking love the Rise of Gru. And I don't know, I truthfully don't know if I'm just blinded by the, I guess, marketing of that movie, because the whole meme was hilarious, and like people, like, one of the best theatrical experiences of my life was going to see Rise of Gru a couple summers ago. My whole theater was wearing like suits and ties and shining like their dress shoes. And it was hilarious because in the movie, like one of the first scenes of the movie is Gru in school. And he says something, he's like, and I'm going to attempt a really bad Gru accent here. He's like, I want to be a super villain. And when he said that, bro, the fucking theater erupted. I'm not talking about like they applauded. I'm talking about like Avengers Endgame level eruption for that line right there. And I knew, like, in that moment, I was like, this is about to be one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life. Like, truthfully, I just knew it. Talk about having the fucking sauce. That movie had it in. That movie was just drowning in sauce. Anyways, Rise of Gru comes in at number 2 of my power rankings. Number 3, I have Despicable Me 2. Great movie. Good villain.
Good. Yeah.
I think the Minions
are Despicable Me too
in this movie. Because honestly, like the whole plot line of them turning bad, like using the Minions as an antagonist, I thought was really smart. The villain was good. Nacho Libre head ass. Despicable Me 3 then comes in. This is where I think the top 3 are kind of a tier above. Despicable Me 3 is okay. I did like Balthazar Brat more than most people. I thought he was a very interesting concept as a villain. He kind of embodies like the washed up celebrity, was relevant like 30, 40 years ago type of guy, which I think is, I guess, a meta way to talk about some people in today's age. Then coming in, I have the Minions movie. The Minions movie is kind of forgettable for me. Like, I didn't love the plot. I get why they did it. I thought Rise of Gru was what Minions wanted to be. Also, Minions is the only movie. I mean, he's in it for like the last 2 or 3 minutes. It's the only GCU movie, we're gonna call it, without Gru. Like, he's not a part of the story at all. He's just, a cameo at the end, basically. And then I think that does hurt the film, because his relationship with the Minions is part of what makes this movie so good. And then coming in last place, I have Despicable Me 4. Very disappointed. Again, I already ranted about that movie. I won't do that anymore. But I did not like that movie. It comes in at last place for me. So what are your thoughts on my rankings?
I agree with. I mean, I haven't seen Rise of Gru, so mine's going to be a little bit different, but I honestly think you're a bit wrong about the Minions movie. I love the Minions movie, the first one. I thought it was great. I love the whole like 70s aesthetic and time,
that it's set in and all that stuff. I love that, like King Bob, and I love like that whole thing. I love, I don't know, that movie's just, I love that movie. And yeah, there's no Gru in it, but I think that, you know, when this first Despicable Me came out, the Minions blew up the internet. Like they were a big deal, and they were everywhere too. Like all the time, you just see Minion shit all the time everywhere. And I think at some point, like you have to do a movie about just the Minions and how they found Gru, and you know them going to work with him, and you know how Gru has had them all this time. And I think that it was a good setup because it's like that Minions are only on this earth to only serve like the worst villain. And now, you know, then they find Gru, and Gru becomes, you know, one of the greatest villains of all time because he stole the moon and he did all this shit, you know. But I think that, yeah, I that's like the only thing I would say other than that. But yeah, those are just my thoughts on it. You want me to get into my ranking? You're fine. I was just asking, do you want me to do my ranking?
Yeah. Do your ranking. I want to see where it stacks up with mine. Because again, the Minions is the big disagreement, but I want to see what you have with the other order.
Well, you did say something about 1.1 billion reasons or something like that. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, no. I think people, the general public would agree with you that the Minions is the best because, or not the best, but really good because it made the most amount of money. It made 1.1 billion. Dude, that movie made like what a Spider-Man movie makes. Like that's pretty fucking nuts. And so like,
yeah.
Again, I can argue and I can bitch about this, that, or whatever, but the fact of the matter is that people love this movie. Like it did really, really well. And like you said, the Minions just absolutely overrun the internet. I can't go on my mom's Facebook without seeing 100 Minion memes in the first 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess for my rankings, I mean, Despicable Me 1 is just, it's a classic. It instantly became a classic. I saw that movie in theaters when I was a kid. And I, you know, watched it all the time growing up, and it was just one of those movies, like it just instantly became a classic for us. And then Despicable Me 2 came out, and I liked that one a lot too. There's like a really funny Boys to Men. Is it Boys to Men or is it the Backstreet Boys like cameo, or like a little like reference that they do at the end when they're all wearing white and they're singing for Gru's Running? That shit's hilarious.
I think that's just
the purple Minions. The purple Minions were great. They were always really funny, and that little island that they put them on is funny too. The ones that get kidnapped and then turned into, whatever. That Despicable Me 2 is also when Gru retired from being a villain and he starts becoming an agent for the AVL. And yeah, that movie's great. It's awesome. And so that's my number 2. So 1 is Despicable Me, and then the second spot is Despicable Me 2. My third spot's going to be Minions. I love Minions. I think that movie's great. The soundtrack's really great. I don't think Pharrell did a whole lot in that soundtrack. There's just a lot of like old 70s music in that, which is always my, that's my thing. And then Despicable Me 3 was the last movie that I saw, and I did not like it at all. So I thought it was really lackluster. I thought that the whole thing with him and his brother was kind of weird. I didn't like the villain a whole lot. I don't know. That movie lost the sauce for me a little bit.
The thing with his brother was not good. I'll give you that. Like the whole thing with his brother, like, and it was so hyped in the trailers, like this contrast version of Gru. What was his name? Stu or something? Like, I don't know. It could have been good.
Drew.
That was Drew. Yeah. They fumbled the bag with Drew. I thought Bulbasaur Brat was fine. I thought he was kind of larger than life, which I think is what, when they're at their best, that's what these villains are. But I agree that he doesn't hold a candle to Vector. I mean, not even close.
Listen, you're talking about like Vector is one of the best movie villains of all time. He's hilarious. He's so quotable. I mean, literally every time I hear the words, "Oh yeah," I think of Vector. Like absolutely hilarious villain, and he's just
Yeah.
the piranha gun, the squid gun. He was just like that, dude. Like he was just awesome. I love Vector. And then the second one too, El Macho.
El Macho
Was great too. He was absolutely amazing. He's hilarious. He's, you know, like one of the villains where you're like, oh, he's like a villain. Like he's like, you know, because Vector was kind of that guy where he wanted to be a villain, so he did a bunch of crazy shit to be a villain, but he wasn't a villain. El Macho was like a villain. Like he was set in stone from like he, you know, as one of the greatest villains of all time.
Yeah, and I think what made Vector so effective is that he was like dead as a fucking loser. Like the first time we see Vector, he's like having trouble like putting the piranha in his piranha gun and like shoots himself. Like he's a fucking dork, and it makes a nice contrast with Gru. And then we see like in the climax of the movie when shit hits the fan, Gru steps up to the plate. You know what I'm saying? And Vector, he's just kind of a bitch.
Right,
you know
right.
I mean? But no, and then
And
El Macho.
I do love him too. I love that. I love that scene too when he's playing with when he gets the shrink ray, and he's playing with it in the bathroom, and then he gets a call from his dad, and he's like, no, I'm not playing with it, and he like shrinks the toilet, and then it sprays him in the face and stuff. Like he's a goofball. How could you not love that?
Toilet? Yeah, I remember that as a kid. That was like the number one joke. Yeah. And then Jason Segel, I mean, just does a fucking fantastic job. Like, have you ever seen the videos of him? Have you ever seen the videos of him like recording the voice lines? Like, dude, he's getting so into it, and I fucking love it because his aura is like radiating throughout the dialogue. Like it's amazing. I just love it. He's great. El Macho's great. Again, Bulbasaur Brat, I don't hate. Like he's like really hated, I think, amongst the GCU community. I'm gonna roll with that. I think I love that phrase. But he's fine in my opinion. He's nothing great. But like you compare Bulbasaur Brat to like the guy from Despicable Me 4, Maxime, and he's just like, come on, give me Bulbasaur Brat every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Yeah. I don't know. To be honest, this movie, like, I just didn't have any plans to see it. I just, matter of fact, you and Wes were actually going to do this episode today, and I was going to be in the producer seat this week, but I you know, Wes couldn't do it today, so here I am.
Yeah, so
right.
Praying for Wes's recovery after eating our DSLR camera. Anyways, our next topic of conversation, which we actually want to talk about earlier, but we might as well talk about it now because it's still going on. The Superman movie. There have been a lot of set release photos. There have been a lot of leaked photos, quote unquote, of him in the suit. There's been pictures of Mr. Fantastic. Wow, that's the second time I've done that, Jacoby. Second time I've done that.
Yeah, second time.
And Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, etc.
Yeah, those are new. We didn't get those last week when we first talked about this, so it's a good thing we didn't release that video. But Hawkgirl's been released. Guy Gardner, which I'm not gonna lie, I don't love Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like it. I think that someone else could have been that. I don't know why Nathan Fillion had to be Guy Gardner, but whatever. Okay, I'm down with that. We also have Ultraman. Yeah, we have Ultraman. We have, we got Ultraman. Also in these set photos, we also have Power Lois Lane, but there's is it Superwoman? I think is the evil Wonder Woman from the crime. Anyway, they're from the crime syndicate from Earth 3 or Earth 2. I don't remember. But I think it's 2 as well. But anyway, these villains are from the comics, and they are evil versions of the Justice League. So we're going to get a little bit of a crime syndicate thing going on in here, and I'm down with that. I've never not liked the crime syndicate. The only thing that I think that I don't really entirely love is that the government is making a team of superheroes, and that I think is what the crime syndicate is. I'm not entirely sure this is on Earth 1, or like the prime Earth is what I should say. The prime Earth. I don't think this is on prime Earth. I think this is on a completely different world.
I hope that James Gunn isn't trying to bite off too much in his first Superman movie. Like, I absolutely want to see this stuff, but I kind of just like, for lack of a better term, I kind of just want a chill Superman movie. Like, just show us the wholesome, good-looking Superman. Pause. Sorry. Wholesome.
Resume.
Resume. Yeah, shit, you're right. Resume. He looks good as fuck in the suit. Like, the suit looks great. It's bright. It's, he's wearing the red underpants. Like, thank you, James Gunn. I need my Superman with red underpants. Okay. Sorry. I do. And I mean, like, I kind of wanted it to be just kind of like a low key chill movie. So maybe part of me is like, well, he's biting off a little bit too much, maybe in the quote unquote, introductory movie. But he's also gone on to say that, like, this is not necessarily a standard opening movie for a character. Like, we might not see a lot of his intro, we might not see a lot of his origin, so to speak. Which I'm okay with, because people, they understand the story of Superman. It's kind of like the MCU did with Spider-Man. It's like, we don't need to see Uncle Ben die once every 5 years. Like, we get it. You know what I'm saying? I do think we'll get a little bit of it, but I do kind of applaud the balls on him to be like, yeah, we're jumping right into the deep end. Like Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Maxwell Lord. If you saw on the insignia of all the suits, it had his logo on there. Which one thing I will say is, I know people are kind of roasting the suits, like not Superman suit, but they're roasting the other suits. And I think that's done on purpose. It's a narrative point. It's like a corporate superhero, basically. It's meant to look generic because this is what Maxwell Lord thinks superheroes should look like, and then you have the contrast of the bright and optimistic Superman. So I think that's a narrative thing. I don't necessarily think that's poor design.
I also think that reason why I say I don't love it is because it feels like they're taking from The Boys a little bit, because The Boys is really popular right now, and I think that, I don't know, it just seems not like James Gunn to do that. But again, I haven't seen the movie. I don't know what it's going to be like. But it does seem to me like this little team of superheroes that they're going to be messing around with is going to be the DC version of The Boys, which is crazy because the Seven from The Boys is a literal knockoff of the Justice League.
Yeah. It's funny because they're parodying the parody. That would be quite something. I will say one absolute demand. One absolute demand that I need Starman by David Bowie to make an appearance in this movie. The edits I've seen, and like all of the TikTok clips I've seen with this song, with this Superman, just make like, it's just already associated in my brain. And James Gunn is so iconic about doing like old school music, like I know that's probably a big reason why you like James Gunn so much, the 80s music. This song came out in 1972, so literally, like, it's kind of like in his wheelhouse.
Pause. James Gunn is very big with 70s music, not 80s. I mean, some of his songs are 80s, and Guardians 3, there was a lot of 90s stuff. But yeah, I literally have Guardians Volume 2 on vinyl, and I listen to it. It's probably my most listened to record. I love that record so much because there's so many great songs on it. And even in the Suicide Squad, he added a lot of 70s music, 90s music. Like, it was good. It was great. And I have full confidence in that. But the one thing that I'm getting at with this whole, I don't think this is Prime Earth thing, dude, Brainiac is in this movie. Brainiac's the villain.
Damn.
I mean, how could you not think that it's, like, Brainiac's whole thing is that he goes to different worlds across the multiverse and he just collects worlds and things like that. And, from starting to see a lot of this stuff, I think that it's safe to say that, I mean, especially when you start introducing people like Ultraman and I want to say it's Superwoman, but I'm not certain. But yeah, like, when you start introducing people like that, then you got me going, all right, so Crime Syndicate, we got the knockoff Walmart Justice League ran by Maxwell Lord, and, a Superman. But is this our Earth? Is this the Prime Earth? Is this the one where we're going to get all these crazy Justice League stories? I don't think so. I think that this is I think he's setting up. And I think we'll see when it comes out. But I have faith in James Gunn. To pull it off and make a great movie. And from everything we've seen so far, it looks great. So I'm not, yeah.
And he's earned the benefit of the doubt. Like he's a guy that I'm not gonna say that I agree with every choice he made, which he's had very few misses, if any. But he's also a guy like if he says something or he announces something and I'm kind of like, I don't know. He's earned the benefit of the doubt for me to be like, okay, I'm gonna let him cook. I'm gonna let him see what he's got going on. Again, would I probably want to do a chill Superman movie to start and like have it be more low key and just kind of down to earth, literally and figuratively? Yeah. But also, if James Gunn wants to just, dive into the deep end movie one, I kind of respect the balls. And I also understand that James Gunn's probably one of the 5 human beings on planet Earth that I would absolutely trust to do that in a Superman movie, for his first one.
Right. And yeah, I do think that I think he's earned it. Because when the Suicide Squad got announced and there was all this stuff coming out about it, and Deadshot's not going to be in it, it's going to be Bloodsport. And then, now he's got this guy called Peacemaker and he's going to be in it. Who the fuck is Peacemaker? And like Polka Dot Man's going to be in it and all this shit. Dude, what? Like, all right, man. Like, I thought that movie was going to bomb. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, I love this movie. It's great.
Yeah, you were. I again was the same way, and I didn't like it at first, and then I kind of sat back and I was like, "No, this movie fucks. Like it's good." So but yeah, I trust James Gunn, and again, this is kicking off the DCU, like the new DC universe. Fuck all the Zack Snyder shit. By the way, really quick tangent. Did you hear that whole thing where he's talking about, "Oh, I hope my Justice League movie gets into theaters"? Give it a fucking rest, bro. It's over. Stop. Oh my god.
Dude, yeah, okay. Yeah, we have to talk about this. So
he's doing so much damage to DC by doing this. Give it a fucking rest.
Not only is talking, it's actually already confirmed and he's putting it back in it for another theatrical run, but it's only the Zack Snyder cut. Like, dude, fucking let go. Give it a rest. Like, oh my God. I don't move on. Go do your other shitty movies for Netflix and fuck off. Like leave it alone. Like, okay, you had your run at DC. You didn't really do the best of jobs. Like we already talked about this in our DC video, but like they weren't great. I like some of them, but they weren't great. It just give it a rest. Just fucking give it a rest. You already had a whole thing during the pandemic of releasing the Snyder Cut and that whole movement and everything that happened. Great. You got your cut released. It's on, HBO Max. You can still go watch it right now. But give it a rest. Give it a rest. It doesn't matter anymore. You lost it, man. Just give it a rest.
And I just think it's just fucking disrespectful that when James Gunn's Superman starts to get some press and some hype and people are getting excited because all these set photos are released, Zack Snyder just waltzes in and is like, actually, you guys want to see my Justice League movie? And blah, blah, blah. Dude, no, like you're just a dick. Like he's the most pick me girl director I've ever seen in my life. It's actually like astounding. Like there needs to be a case study done on Zack Snyder and how much he wants attention because truthfully, dude, the executives have already made their decision. They're done with you. They're going on to a new, and they made the right decision. Sorry to say, they made the right decision. They're done with you, bro. Get fucking over it. Go, like you said, go fuck off to Netflix. Make your shitty Star Wars ripoff movies that get like 48% of Rotten Tomatoes, and then you bitch about I couldn't release my full movie, dude. He complains more than any other director I've ever seen in my life. The amount of big budget movies he's been greenlit to make and failed continuously. He has bitched more than anybody I've ever seen in my life. Take it on the chin. Say, hey, I didn't do this correctly.
Another thing about the whole Rebel Moon thing, even after Rebel Moon, the first Rebel Moon Part 1 or whatever the fuck came out, and that movie was bombing, like critically and just audience-wise, it just was a bomb. It just didn't work. And like, he goes on Joe Rogan and starts fucking bitching and crying that he didn't get to make his movie. And, there's a whole other cut of the film that didn't even, dude, are we going to do this every fucking time your movie's bomb? You're just going to sit and bitch about how the studio didn't let you make your movie and all this shit. Like, come on, man, give it a fucking rest. Like move on. All right. Do you think that every director gets to have their full movie get put out? No. Every single director in Hollywood has had this same problem happen to them where they make a film and they're getting ready to make it. And then all of a sudden suits come in and say, hey, we got to cut this, 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 and this. And then we're going to rewrite this and we're going to do this. And now it's a completely different movie than what you made. But guess what? You still go through with it and you still do it. And if you're smart enough and if you're talented enough, you can still pull it off and make a great movie. I'm sorry to say, but if your movies are still bombing after a studio like Netflix comes in and tells you to cut shit out, which first of all, Netflix lets their creators create. They don't really step in and fucking go over all this shit. Like, go fuck yourself with that. Like, literally, he's just gonna cry, oh, well, it's not my full movie every single time a movie of his comes out and it doesn't work, because he wants people, he wants his cult on Twitter to start crying about release the Snyder cut of fucking Rebel Moon that no one wants to see. Like, and now you're gonna put your movie in theaters to what? Make money off of it? For why? It's a fucking, like, how old is Justice League? How old is that fucking movie? That movie came out in like what, 2017, 2018?
Oh, Justice League, yeah, 2017. But his cut came out in 2021, so it's like over 3 years old.
Well, the only reason I say the original one, because the original one that came out in theaters, it was done by Joss Whedon, but most of it was also shot by fucking Zack Snyder. So that's still also part of his movie. The only difference is that in the Zack Snyder cut is that he just added a bunch of other shit. It's the same fucking movie. He just added a bunch of other scenes. Like, dude, oh my God.
And the other thing is the amount of big budget movies that this man has been allowed to create. Like, some directors would get one opportunity, and if it fucking bombed, they're done. Like, we've never hear from them again. Zack Snyder has been given the green light to make 300, Watchmen, Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Justice League, 2 Rebel Moon movies. That is plenty of opportunity, dog. Plenty of opportunity. And honestly, out of those movies I just named, I would say 2 of them are good. 2 of them. Like, dude, the only way you can get away with being 2 for 6 is if you're playing Major League Baseball and hitting 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. You're making fucking movies and you're 2 for 6. No, get the fuck out of here, dude. Get the fuck out of here.
So I know we disagree. I know we disagree on a lot of his films, but 300 was like his big break. 300 was like his, like, oh shit, this kid's got it, right? Like 300 was a big deal for him, and it's a great movie. It's a good movie. 300's really good, and then his first thing he did for DC was Watchmen, and Watchmen's also great. It's a great movie. It's very, very loyal to the comics. It's very good to, the mythos of the Watchmen and things like that. Pretty much shot for shot, like panel wise of the Watchmen book is like the whole opening scene with the death of the comedian and things like that. Like, it's all there. And I feel like I love Man of Steel just because of Henry Cavill's performance and Michael Shannon's as well. I love it. But then BVS came out and no one liked it. And then the Justice League was coming out, and then, Zack Snyder had some really unfortunate personal things, so he had to step back and he had to do his own thing. Joss Whedon came in, that movie released, and then after all of that, then he wants to come back out and say, okay, well, now I want to release my cut because DC screwed me. When yeah, okay, sure, right? You get it, it's out. You should just be happy with that they even allowed you to do that in the first place. Now you want to fucking bring it to theaters? Why? Like, for what reason? Other than, I want to put it in theaters the same time that Superman comes out and have my fans go see it while everyone else goes and sees the other Superman movie. That's just fucking disrespectful. That is extremely low. And there has never been a director in history that has done something that fucking petty for one IP character. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous.
And I don't want to hear all the excuses of, well, he cares about the characters and he doesn't care about shit. If he cared about it,
he fucking doesn't.
He would step the fuck aside, let James Gunn do his thing, support James Gunn, say, hey guys, I had my time, it didn't work out, go support this new thing, right? That's what fucking, listen, you want to hear a good example? And I'll be quick because I know we're going on a little tangent here. Sam Raimi wanted to do Spider-Man 4. When the studio told him, hey, we're going to not do Spider-Man 4, we're going to reboot it, we're going to have, new Spider-Man, new director, whatever. Sam Raimi said, okay, I respect your decision. And he encouraged people to go support Amazing Spider-Man because he's a fucking mature adult.
Yes, he did.
Doesn't cry about fucking an IP that he did. And again, Sam Raimi made 2 out of 3 good Spider-Man movies. And the 3 was, maybe not his fault. That's a whole different conversation. But basically, Sam Raimi did a great job with the original Spider-Man trilogy. And then when the studio came in and said, hey, we're going to go a different direction, he was cool about it. Now, I'm sure he still wanted to make Spider-Man 4, but he understood that he was not, in charge of this. And he cared about Spider-Man's character, and he went back. And since he wasn't so fucking petty, Marvel then decided, 10 years later, or no, 15 years later, whatever it was, hey, we want him to direct Doctor Strange because he kept a good relationship with Marvel. So it's like, dude, Zack Snyder, if ever this DCU becomes like a version of the MCU, which I fully believe it can, there's going to be James Gunn's not going to be able to direct every single movie. They have to bring in other guys. If Zack Snyder was ever in consideration to be a director for one of these other movies, he's taking himself out of the fucking race because he's a petty asshole. So I just wanted to say that about Zack.
And here's the thing, and thank you for reminding me about the Sam Raimi thing too, because in Spider-Man 3, he had already filmed the majority of that movie with just Spider-Man and Sandman. There was no Venom in the script at all, but Avi Arad came in and said, I want Venom, you're going to do Venom. So Sam Raimi had to go back, rewrite a bunch of the script, and then throw Venom into the movie, which is why it suffered. Do you hear fucking Sam Raimi bitching on Twitter to release the Raimi cut of fucking Spider-Man 3? No. Do you hear Mark Webb fucking bitching about the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and release the fucking amazing, the web cut of Amazing Spider-Man 2? No. You take it on the chin, you fucking move on. If it bombed, it bombed. You do what you can with it and you fucking move on. Like, every fan has the right to watch and appreciate movies that they love or that they have certain memories with. And for the DCEU, that was the DC films that I had growing up. So yes, I love Man of Steel. It's one of my favorite movies. It's my Superman that I grew up with. I love that movie. BVS sucks. The Justice League sucks. I don't, but there are fans that enjoy those films, and that's totally fine. I love Spider-Man 3 for my own reasons, but I love Spider-Man 3. I know it's not a great movie, but I still love it. I love The Amazing Spider-Man 2, again, for my own reasons, but I still love it. You can't just sit and fucking bitch on Twitter about, release my cut of the movie because my movie bombed, and now I want to make a bunch of money and do, I want it to be the way it was supposed to be in my head. Bitch, no. You had your fucking chance. It didn't pan out. Take it like a fucking man, or take it on the chin, I should say, and just fucking move on. Get the fuck out of here. Go do Rebel Moon. Go do your fucking stupid weak ass zombies movies and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, this is a very roundabout way to say that what he's doing is disrespecting, and it's also hindering the potential of the new DCU, because now it's going to just create a divide amongst the fan base. There's going to be the Snyder cultists that will refuse to go watch James Gunn's Superman and blah, blah, blah. And again, it's just the toxicity, and it's just it's just bad. Like, it's just not doing any good. So I really am hopeful for the Superman movie that James Gunn's going to make. I really do believe he's going to do a great job, but I worry about this split in the fandom that Zack Snyder is going to cause, and how it could potentially hinder the movie. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up, Jacoby. We went on our weekly Zack Snyder rant, which checked it off the list for us. It was great. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we head out of here?
Last week I talked about bike riders, but I saw Bike Riders last week, and for last week's video, we kind of talked about it, but I didn't really say a whole lot. It's a good movie. You should go watch it. It's one of the few original films that you should go see. I mean, it's not original. It's a adaptation of a book, but it's, it's not a reboot. It's not a sequel. It's not a prequel. It's not a remake. It's just a really good movie, and you should go watch it. Yeah, it's a new movie, and it's really good. If you're from Chicago, I think you'll like it a lot. Most Chicago film I've ever watched in my life. It's really, really good. But yeah, I love how you mentioned that's about it.
I love how you mentioned last week too about the accents, about and pop and all that. And I was listening to you talk about that last week, I was thinking, I was like, I don't talk like that. And then I'm really thinking about it, and I was catching myself throughout the week, and I was like, I really do talk like that. Like I'm 100% a Midwestern.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like once you bring it up to somebody from up here, right? Like you should hear how much someone says, you know, in a sentence, or I don't know. It's weird. Like the way they talk, it's obviously like very specific to that time. It was like 60s, 70s Chicago, and that's how they talked. And it's just great. Like, and I actually just watched this YouTube short right before we got started today about bike riders and their accents, and the actors, because the book was a real book that was written a long time ago about the Vandals bike club, you know, motorcycle club in Chicago. And the guy went in. I mean, listen to how I just said the word Chicago. I mean, that's going to fucking bother me now. But yeah. But yeah, so this reporter, I guess, or this photographer, he was taking a bunch of pictures, and he started walking around with a microphone and a recording device, and he was just recording people talking and stuff like that. So there's just recordings of the people from the movie, you know, the real person that they, you know, were in history, and the actors had to listen to that and listen to them talk, and that's how they learned how to speak for the role, because that's just, you know, they're listening to the real person, and then they imitated that, I guess. But it's really good. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad that your last theatrical experience was better than mine, because I spent the first 30 minutes talking about how much I fucking hated the last movie I saw. But yeah, that should pretty much wrap it up. Thank you for listening to our audio only episode. Again, we're hoping that Wes digests the equipment, and then he can spit it out, and we can clean it off and have it ready for next week. But until then, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace out.